Hello everyone, welcome to PM IAS Institute. So, this is the 6th of October 2023, the Hindu newspaper analysis. So, let's get start. So, here you can see that only one article of today's the Hindu newspaper is important for UPSC prelims as well as mains perspective. This is only for mains perspective, this article, and not for prelims perspective. On prelims perspective, there is only the data is important for UPSC prelims. So first, this article, the diffusing the ticking time bomb called diabetes. That here you can see the data about diabetes. Recently, the World Health Organization declared the diabetes as the severe and critical disease, not disease but non-communicable diseases in the world. And in Indian Council of Medical Research and Union Health Ministry revealed that more than 11.4% of population are living with diabetes and 15.3% of population or an additional 13.6 crore people are pre-diabetic. What are the causes behind the diabetes happening in Indian population as well as the world perspective? The main causes for diabetic disease is the unhealthy ultra processed foods and beverages which are aggressively marketed, displacing traditional diets. Such foods include carbonated drinks, instant cereals, chips, fruit flavored drinks, instant noodles, cookies, ice cream, bakery products, energy bars, sweetened yogurts, pizzas, processed meat products, and powdered infant formula. So these are the some causes behind the diabetes happening in the Indian population. There is a more cause behind the diabetic condition that beverages are high in sugar, fat, and salt, which is found in the food processing in Indian food product. 10% increase in the consumption of ultra processed food a day is associated with a 15% higher risk of type 2 diabetes among adults, and more than 50% of the diabetic condition in the old age persons. And why this ultra processed food is caused behind the diabetes? That when the food is ultra processed, its structure is destroyed and cosmetic additives, colors, and flavors are added. This makes people eat more, gain weight, and heightens the risk of diabetes and other chronic diseases. So, because of this, the obesity and diabetes are key risk factors for heart disease and even death. The WHO study shows that those person who has more than 4 serving of ultra processed food a day is much more risky of cardiovascular diseases, and even the mortality behind this ultra processed food who took less than 2 servings a day. And what are the important role play behind this food industry cause the diabetic condition in Indian population? In last 20 years, in many high income countries that grows uh, grow more diabetic condition in the population. To compensate for the loss of sales, companies are now focusing on low and middle income countries, which is more vulnerable to the purchasing of these ultra processed food in Indian market. India is a playground for the food industry. Billions of rupees are spent on marketing and advertising ultra processed food and beverages. And Indian population is much more vulnerable to purchase or to obtain these foods to serve their purpose as well as their aspirations of food consumption. And vulnerability of this population, Indian population, is more vulnerable to cause behind this diabetic disease. Food industry blames people for bad choices. It is not the people but the environment around them that is to blame. Marketing targets younger generations and the growing middle class. The marketing system of the companies that choose healthy food options, which is the blindly followed by the population. Children in particular are exposed to cartoon characters and given incentives and gifts. Celebrity endorsements also determine their consumption decisions. The result is a deepening public health crisis, the ticking time bomb of diabetes happening in Indian population more than even the developed countries, which is severe critical. Regulating these ultra processed foods, and policy and regulatory actions are warranted by the Indian government to purchase these ultra processed foods. And food industry does not want any restrictions on marketing to sell these ultra processed food products in the Indian marketing system. And these food industries offer partnerships as well as arguments of economic development as stakeholders. The food industry also participates in programs such as Eat Right, making false promises that in the company ultra food processing companies are encouraging people that these foods are not harmful for their obesity or their fat or their body, and they suggest these foods are participates in your health, that it is a eat right program which is regulating by the these ultra processed food industry. Such partnerships do not allow us to make a strong regulation that could reduce the consumption of ultra processed food and beverages. The Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, that is FSSAI, has shown a lackluster response to the crisis and allowed a dominating role to the food industry while suggesting front of package labeling, which is still not in place. Many say that people should exercise the good for health of these food ultra food processed. It should be in addition to a regulatory policy on restricting the marketing of ultra processed food and providing warning labels on junk food and beverages, and mandatory provisions for these ultra processed food industries. The only way the government can safeguard people from the manipulative strategies of food industry is through a legal framework or even an ordinance with the objective of reducing the consumption of ultra processed foods among Indian population as well as the population of the world. And this initiative also include defining healthy food, a warning label on a healthy food, and restrictions on the promotion and marketing tactics of unhealthy food and beverages. And this body also suggests, and the government of India also suggests that people must be informed of the risk of consuming such ultra processed food. In such process, there is no reason to partner with the food industry that is responsible for ill health. The governments of South Africa, Norway, and Mexico have recently taken the actions against these ultra food processing industries. The government of India can show its strength to regulate food labeling and marketing. Such a law will be a clear demonstration of the will of the government. The Infant Milk Substitutes Feeding Bottles and Infant Foods Act that created the growth of commercial baby food. The proposed new law could do the same to unhealthy foods and beverages. This is an idea whose time has come that will create uh, an ordinance or rules and regulations against these ultra processed food. And government of India will need to improve the consumption of food among the Indian population because of WHO warns the world that diabetes will become a dangerous situation for the population of the world that create more challenges the international as well as national government decision making process. Here the WHO data about diabetic conditions of the countries. You can see here the world's most diabetic countries in the world. Pakistan is more vulnerable to diabetic condition in the world. Here India is less vulnerable than US, China and Middle Eastern countries and most of the African countries, Mexico and Russia as well. So India is better performing about this diabetic condition or diabetic disease among its populations. The government of India needs to provide the population, provide a better solution to their population for not consuming these ultra processed food, because the developed countries taking cue to sell their product, sell their ultra processed food to Indian market, and not even Indian market, but these companies taking their marketing capturing in the developing countries or the global south. Okay, so here this is an article all about the conditions of the diabetic disease in the world as well as Indian population. Okay, so you can remember this. So here I will end the lecture. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.